Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today as we launch USDOT's Vehicle to Everything or National Deployment Plan. It's just really wonderful to see so many familiar and also new faces here as we unite around a common goal around advancing transportation safety. My name is Robert Hampshire. I lead the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Research and Technology, and also have the pleasure of being the department's Chief Science Officer. We are joined here today by National Traffic Safety Board Chair Hamidi. She'll join us online. Members of safety and survivor organizations, leaders of transportation agencies, national associations, and the deployment community. It's a true honor to be here today, and I particularly want to point to and is so excited about sharing the stage with our FHWA Administrator, Shaylin Bott. I also want to express deep gratitude for the true leadership of U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, our Deputy Secretary Polly Trottenberg, for their visionary leadership, particularly around our steadfast commitment to transportation safety. Their guidance has been crucial to getting here today as we advance the deployment of this transformative V2X technology. Inspired by their dedication and the dedication of folks in this room, we continue to drive our strategies and actions towards enhancing transportation safety. Last year, we tragically lost 40,990 lives on our roadways. These losses, they sound like the statistics are large, but those are devastating moments for families, friends, loved ones across this nation. In response to that, our administration has developed our National Roadway Safety Strategy that really outlines our approach to addressing this challenge, national challenge. This strategy is ambitious in that it aims towards zero roadway fatalities. We believe that by integrating advanced technologies, we can make our roads safer for everyone who uses them. So today, the gathering today, we're launching our Saving Lives with Connectivity plan to accelerate V2X deployment. This technology allows vehicles to communicate with each other, with other road users, particularly vulnerable road users, roadside infrastructure, with the goal of significantly reducing risk of crashes. The power of V2X technology is transformative. We believe it's a critical tool as we go to mitigate and eliminate crashes across this nation. We're not doing this alone. Certainly after soliciting input from people around the nation, from those in this room, we've done extensive stakeholder feedback. We've not only listened, but we've stepped up to lead at USDOT in creating this detailed roadmap of how we'll deploy V2X nationwide. So today, we're going to take, this is a significant step forward. Certainly us at USDOT and our partners in this room, but also our interagency partners, the FCC, we've worked closely with getting to here, to this moment, NTIA, and others in the federal family. I want to particularly point out that the NTSB has underscored the urgency of deploying these technologies, particularly ranking V2X consistently in their top 10 most wanted safety improvements. And so we're here today to really launch and kick that off, that nationwide deployment. And also thanks to the President's bipartisan infrastructure law, we've had access to unprecedented funding and partnerships and opportunities to propel these technologies forward and move into this future. Particularly among some of the discretionary grant programs that really have helped propel us are things like SMART grants, Safe Streets and Roads for All, Attain, have really been ways on the discretionary side for us in the department to start and kickstart this deployment. So with that, this plan really does call for unity. It calls for call to action. Like I said, it's not just us in the department, it's all of us here in this room and beyond in our communities to deploy these technologies towards the end of safety. So with that, I really look forward to hearing from the collective efforts, insights for all those in this room in this transformative journey. Thank you. And with that, I'll now turn it over to FHWA Administrator Shaylin Bott.
Thank you, Dr. Hampshire, and it is amazing to be here today to look out at the room and to see many of you who have been on this journey with us for a long time, those of you who are maybe new to this space, and really excited to see all of the attention. I've seen some of the initial headlines about this, that this technology is in its infancy and we're just getting started. For me, this journey has been a long time. I actually remember being in this room in 2011 when I was an Obama appointee at USDOT, and we were cautiously celebrating the fact that we were down to around 30,000 deaths per year on American roadways. It's around 2011. And we all said, let's get towards zero, we're on our way. And in the intervening 13 years, we've gone the other way. And Dr. Hampshire mentioned that we had nearly 41,000 deaths in that time. Well, so in that 13 years, nearly 500,000 Americans have perished on American roadways. That doesn't count serious injuries, and that doesn't track the trauma, the emotional trauma, the loss that is caused. And so for those of us who have been engaged, this plan today represents just a wonderful fresh start for us to say, here is our roadmap to actually using technology. And I believe that technology is the key for us to making sure that we are able to use all of the elements within the NRSS to achieve that goal of zero deaths on American roadways. But this is a wonderful plan that brings together private sector partners, state DOTs and cities, among other public sector partners, academia, to lay out the roadmap to say these are the deployments that will be needed. And this is not about pilot programs. This is not about trying to test out technology. This is proven technology that works. We know it works. We know it works in the field. We know that there are deployments out there right now today across the nation that are utilizing V2X technology. And thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law, there is funding available to make this a reality. So, earlier this year, we announced grants around $60 million in Texas, Utah, which is actually using Colorado and Wyoming as well, and in Phoenix and in Arizona for more deployments. But those are not the only deployments that are out there. There are deployments in Michigan, there are deployments in Virginia, there are deployments in California. There is all of this wonderful technology that is out there. Today, we need to harness that. And I always like to focus on the why. Why should we do it? When you talk about 500,000 Americans dying in 13 years, it's too big of a number. It's too large of a number. Even 40,000 deaths a year. Dan Langenkamp, who has just been a tremendous advocate and turning his grief into positive action. He and I were in Colorado on Sunday for the Ride for Magnus White. Magnus White was a 17-year-old child who was killed by a vehicle on Colorado 119 when he was about 15 minutes from home on his last training ride before going to compete for our nation. And he died in his Team USA jersey. And, whether it's the story of Magnus White, and please check out the foundation that his parents, and if you want to hear some compelling people, Mike and Jill are turning their grief and their rage into positive action through the White Line Foundation to help make cycling safer for everybody. But I am truly optimistic that with this plan, with the deployments, getting 20% of our system deployed by 2028 with our private sector partners, our automotive partners, our cycling partners, our vulnerable road users who are out there, and these measured goals and the funding that is there, that we will achieve our goal of zero roadway deaths, not decades from now, not 25 years from now, but now, right? So that is always my call to action: is let's go quickly. And this plan is an amazing work achievement for many of the people who are in this room, many of the people in this department. I can't thank them enough. And I am just so looking forward to seeing the fruits of this labor and so many of the lives that we'll save. So I'm just grateful for everybody to be here, grateful for Dr. Hampshire, Secretary Buttigieg, our Deputy Secretary as well, and all of our partners that are here. I do want to introduce a couple of our other speakers who will be here. I'm going to finish with our NTSB chair because we're going to have to get her in remotely. But Dan Langenkamp is the founder of the Sarah Langenkamp Bike Safety Memorial Fund and works at the State Department and was in this room with his two sons a little while ago sharing his story. So we'll hear from him. Laura Chase is the president and CEO of ITS America, and she has been a tremendous champion in this space. Catherine McGahey is the Chief Deputy Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Transportation, and I know that she is a real champion for this and leading the efforts in Virginia. And John Bozzella is President and CEO of the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. He's got a tremendous career in the automotive space, but he's also a cyclist and really has been a tremendous partner here. But I'm going to turn it over to our NTSB chair, who has been just a tremendous warrior for safety. She really gets this stuff. Chair Homendy, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you very much. Please take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, Administrator Batt, Deputy Administrator White, Dr. Hampshire, and Director Cronin, and certainly the Secretary and Deputy Secretary for your leadership and commitment to saving lives with V2X. I truly appreciate the strong safety partnership the NTSB has with DOT on this and so many other issues. Of course, there has been no greater champion at NTSB on connected vehicle technology than member Michael Graham, whose leadership I do want to acknowledge. He was not able to be with us today, but he is certainly celebrating with us in spirit. Today, I'm coming to you from the Ohio Turnpike Commission's office in Swanton, very close to where we're investigating a series of fatal crashes on Interstate 80. One of the issues we're looking at here is whether collision avoidance technology would have prevented this tragedy. Now, this is not a new issue for us. The NTSB first recognized the need for collision warning technology in 1995 following our investigation of a multi-vehicle collision in Menifee, Arkansas. The lead vehicle entered dense fog and was struck from behind. More collisions followed. A total of 9 vehicles were involved, and tragically, 5 people died. In the decades since Menifee, we've continued to advocate for V2X technology as a strategy for saving lives on our roads. 12 years ago in Chesterfield, New Jersey, an 11-year-old girl died in a school bus collision. 15 other children and the school bus driver were injured. 6 years ago, a 9-year-old girl and her twin brothers were killed at a school bus stop in Rochester, Indiana. A 4th child, just 11 years old, was seriously injured. 4 years ago, Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania, 5 people, including 1 child, died in a multi-vehicle crash on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. 50 others were injured. I was on scene for that investigation. 3 years ago in Phoenix, Arizona, 4 people were killed and 11 more were injured when a commercial motor vehicle struck a queue of passenger vehicles at about 63 miles per hour. I could go on. In each case, we determined V2X technology could have prevented the crash. Today, the NTSB has 10 open safety recommendations to DOT related to V2X, focused on protecting all road users, in vehicles and outside vehicles, which has never been more critical as pedestrian deaths have soared across the U.S. since 2013. Our most recent recommendation from Mount Pleasant calls on DOT to take a leadership role to implement a plan for nationwide connected vehicle technology. We issued that recommendation because we fervently believe strong, clear DOT leadership is essential for nationwide V2X deployment. I'm here today because you've done just that. And I want to congratulate you on behalf of the NTSB for embracing your role in saving lives with connectivity. And on a personal note, I want to thank you for being bold. Even though the safety promise of V2X is undisputed, its widespread adoption wasn't a foregone conclusion. And yet I firmly believe that DOT is essential to making it happen. The plan is a vital first step towards realizing the full life-saving potential of this technology. Technology that could prevent up to 615,000 crashes. That may have prevented the 3 fatal crashes that occurred right here in Swanton yesterday. At the same time, no one entity can do it alone. To save lives, it'll take every stakeholder at all levels doing their part. So I want to thank our safety partners for doing the right thing, for fighting for V2X, especially in the years where progress was slow, for keeping the faith despite numerous setbacks. We don't ever forget those who led with safety. Today is a day of celebration, but it's also a call to action. More than 1 million people have died on our nation's roads since the Menifee tragedy nearly 30 years ago. 1 million people gone. We cannot wait any longer, especially because each of those deaths was preventable, especially because V2X can help reverse the devastating public health crisis on our nation's roads. Save lives, whether a person is driving, walking, biking, or rolling, and fundamentally transform our nation's transportation landscape. That is a future worth fighting for, and it's an honor to fight for safety alongside each of you. Again, thank you to you all. Thank you to all of DOT for including me in this incredible celebration.
Thank you so much, Chair Mendy, and thank you for your leadership. And sorry that you weren't able to be here, but we totally understand why you had to be in Ohio. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Langenkamp.
Thank you, Shaylin. Thank you to all my friends at the Department of Transportation who have brought me into this event, this celebration, and thank you to all of the manufacturers and other technology partners here. On August 25th, 9 days from now, families all over this city are going to be cheerfully and somewhat nervously preparing for the next school year, which begins in this area on August 26th. But for my family, that day, August 25th, is forever going to be overshadowed by the horror of what happened to us just 2 years ago, when the driver of a truck weighing between 30 and 40,000 pounds didn't see my wife riding her bike beside him and turned his vehicle, hitting her, rolling over her, and killing her. My wife, Sarah, was an accomplished U.S. diplomat of 17 years who had served in Haiti and Vietnam. Sorry, not Vietnam, Uganda. I served in Vietnam. Haiti, Uganda, Iraq, in Washington doing UN Security Council issues and NATO issues, and most recently in Ukraine. She was a lovely and deeply committed mother of our 2 boys who organized running races for the school kids in the nearby parks, who led yoga sessions at work for colleagues. We had just been evacuated from Ukraine for our safety back to the United States. And it was only weeks later that Sarah was killed here in our nation's capital, or just outside of it. The irony, of course, of that is just too thick for words. But Sarah's death is actually emblematic of the crisis, the disaster that we're seeing on our roads today. Dangers are here everywhere, and they persist, even though we know how to eliminate them. We know how to design roadways that encourage safe driving and protect people. We know that slower speeds reduce the risk of death when crashes happen. And we know that we can encourage safer driving with education, incentives, and disincentives, and by getting dangerous drivers off the street. And we know how to create safer cars using the incredible technology that has transformed life in America. So I'm so glad to see the Department of Transportation and the other technology partners here taking on the task of getting this technology into our vehicles. And I'm glad that they're doing so as fast as possible. Obviously, if this had been done earlier, my wife, Sarah, might be alive today. 100 irreplaceable family members, loved ones whose deaths destroy families, are dying on our roads every year. Take the numbers, 40,000 divided by 365, and you get over 100. Now, if you divide 100 by 24 hours, you find that more than 4 people an hour are dying like this. If these were airplane deaths, we would have a national crisis on our hands, congressional hearings, and life would stop in America until we fixed this problem. But for road deaths, somehow it seems acceptable. I don't find that acceptable, and I applaud the Department of Transportation also for not finding that acceptable. In 2022, more cyclists died than has ever been recorded since 1975. In 2022, also, more pedestrians had died than in the last 40 years. This technology holds the power to reverse this trend. It has the power not only to save lives, but to improve the quality of life in America, making it easier to ride a bike and walk, push a stroller, go to the store, not only in our cities, but all over the country. And it has the power to help drivers be better versions of themselves, which is, I think, something that we all want. So as you roll this out, as we roll this out, please think of Sarah. I don't know what Sarah would say about this, because her death took away our ability to ever know again what she would think or say. That uncertainty is actually just a small part of what makes it so difficult to live without a loved one. But I and my family, those left behind, whose lives have been utterly turned upside down by this, we say this: how can we, as government officials, as manufacturers, and just as Americans, not push this technology forward as fast as we possibly can, knowing that we have the power to rescue ourselves from this disaster, this crisis on our roads, to make our country a better place? Thank you.
Some very moving words, and obviously give so much gratitude to Dan for your courage to show up and continue to carry on Sarah's legacy. With that, turn it over to Laura Chase from ITS America.
Thank you. Good morning. Today is a really exciting day for the transportation sector and for ITS America. It's a day where we take a major step forward to unleash the full potential of V2X technologies to improve transportation safety and mobility across the board. As a leader of a transportation technology organization, as a mother, and as a user of the system, I'm excited about V2X because it provides the opportunity to make transportation safer for everyone. So kids get to school on time and safely, parents get home safely, and a trip to the grocery store or to visit relatives does not end in tragedy. This plan is impactful because it takes a proactive approach to safety by using V2X communications to prevent crashes from happening in the first place, immediately beginning to address this colossal safety crisis that we have on our roads. As you heard earlier, this is not the start of the journey for V2X. Our community has been working on this technology for years. From the researchers developing the technology, to the public agencies laying plans and how they're going to use the technology, to the automakers preparing to deploy this technology on their vehicles. What this plan does is coordinate all of those efforts and all of those key stakeholders and sets milestones for each of the stakeholders and actualizes a path forward to nationwide scale deployment. ITS America's members have been at the forefront of preparing for this moment for quite some time, and we're proud to stand with US DOT now today to deliver on this national strategy. I will say, as you heard from both Administrator Batt and NTSB Chair Hamady, even a few years ago, many people wrote connected vehicle technology off. It's due to the dedication of the leadership of US DOT, NTSB, many of the people in this room, the passion of ITS America's members, the tireless efforts of our partners in the industry, that we are all where we are today. Earlier, you saw there were a lot of smiles when we came into this room when we started. People are very excited. There's a lot of energy around this plan because we actually now finally have a path. We have a roadmap. And we know how we need to move forward in order to scale this technology across our country and make it safer in communities. So now, My call to action is to use that energy and all work together to deliver on this plan to make it safer for all of our family and friends to move as they choose. ITIS America members are ready to get to work and redouble our efforts. We look forward to the FCC adopting the final rules for the 5.9 gigahertz spectrum so that we can deploy imminently. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura, for your passionate leadership. In order to get this deployed, we're going to need infrastructure that gets deployed. That's going to be done by public sector partners, and I want to turn it over to Kathy from Virginia DOT.
Good morning. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today to represent state departments of transportation from across the country. I am so excited to lend my support to this plan to accelerate V2X deployment. In Virginia, we're very proud of our commitment to safety and mobility. And we're equally proud of our investments in innovation and technology that we believe are critical to helping us meet our safety goals. Like state DOTs across the country, we've seen our statistics continue to go in the wrong direction. In just the first 8 months of this year, in Virginia, we've lost 517 lives due to highway crashes. 70 of those were pedestrians. Although we are beginning to see the trend lines move in a better direction, they're not bending as fast as we would like, any of us would like. And as you've heard here this morning, these numbers are particularly concerning for pedestrians and bicycles. For more years than I care to count, and probably I share this sentiment with others here today, the Virginia Department of Transportation, we jumped in with both feet in connected and automated vehicles. We believed strongly that the enhanced situational awareness provided by connectivity was key to improving safety. We deployed roadside units, we partnered with automotive companies, we partnered with our universities to better understand the applications that connectivity could support and how those applications could enhance safety. We've learned a lot, but we've never been able to get enough momentum to get beyond those pilots and demonstrations. With this plan and the support you see here today, I truly believe that's going to change today. Yesterday, I had a great day. I had an opportunity to spend the day with the folks who maintain VDOT's roadways each and every day at our equipment rodeo. And it's a lot of fun. They get to compete on the equipment that they use to make our roads safer for all that drive there. But it's easy to forget just how dangerous their jobs are. In just the last 3 months, we've lost 2 contractor employees due to work zone incidents. That's 2 lives forever gone, 2 families forever changed. And no one should lose their life just trying to do their job. But we know that work zones create challenges for safety, both within the work zone itself and from vehicles that intrude into those work zones. I'm proud of the work that we've done through our longstanding partnership with the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute to develop applications specifically targeted at work zone safety, making some of the most complex areas of our highways safer for our workers and for all of you who travel through those work zones. From developing wearable technology that makes our workers part of a connected environment, to creating an app that shares real-time information to those of you driving through that work zone about what's going on, where the lane closures are, and what you need to do to be safe as you travel through that work zone. We are leveraging V2X to make our work zones safer and to make sure that everyone gets where they're going at the end of the day. Taking the next step to full deployment will require funding. And I challenge you to find a state DOT anywhere in this country that has extra money laying around. So that means we need to be able to tell a compelling story about the benefits of V2X. You've heard them here today, But I have to tell you, the legislators that I talk to want more. They want more data, and I think that's a great part of this plan. It's going to collect that data that quantifies the benefits and allows us to tell that very compelling story. We've made amazing strides to get where we are today, and I believe we're in a perfect spot to leverage this plan, to work together across the country, across functional borders, to develop the standards that will enable interoperability and support widespread deployment. You've heard a number of people here today say no one can do it alone. VDOT certainly can't do it alone. Our auto manufacturers can't do it alone. Our industry and advocacy associations can't do it alone. But together we can. And that's what this plan provides a framework for. And I am so excited to be a part of the call to action today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. You raise a couple of really great points, particularly on the funding side. And, when we make safety investments, we have to show a benefit cost analysis. And I just truly believe that with large-scale deployment of this technology, it's going to have a massive scale of saving lives. And, but that is what is great about this plan, is that we're going to get that data. So we've heard from the public sector partners. Now I want to bring up our private sector partners. John Bozzella does lead the Alliance for Automotive Innovation and has been a great partner in working on this. John?
Thanks, Sean. Good morning. I'm John Bozzella, President and CEO of Alliance for Automotive Innovation. We are the industry's leading trade association. We support the iconic companies producing most vehicles here in the United States today, sold across the country, as well as suppliers, tech companies, battery manufacturers, semiconductor producers. We're also proud to work with AV startups and safety innovators, which brings us to why we're here today. First, on behalf of the auto industry here in the U.S., I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hampshire and Administrator Bott and the entire team at the Department of Transportation for your tireless work on these last couple of years to develop and now finalize this deployment plan. This really is a team sport. So I also want to thank and acknowledge the commitment of Chair Homendy, and to Laura and to Kathy and to Dan for your courage and your passionate leadership, not only on behalf of your family, but on behalf of all of us. Collaboration and engagement on this issue and dedication across this group of advocates, companies, and associations is going to be key. I have to say, because I'm also a veteran, it's been a long and, dare I say, bumpy road. Every day, auto companies research, invent, develop, and then implement cutting-edge vehicle safety technologies. It's in our DNA. It's what we do. That investment and commitment to safety has led to breakthroughs like anti-lock brakes, electronic stability control, lane departure warnings, automatic emergency braking. They're already saving lives on our roadways. And the exciting news, we're just getting started. Looking around the bend, pun intended, we see a very real opportunity to save even more lives through innovative next-generation safety and connectivity technologies. And one of the most promising of these is V2X. For decades, the auto industry and other safety stakeholders have worked to develop and deliver on the power and promise of V2X. V2X is game-changing, right? I agree. But the truth is, for far too long, that work has been hampered by regulatory uncertainty. Ah, yes, the dreaded regulatory uncertainty. Our persistent calls for a policy and regulatory environment to support the widespread deployment of V2X technology in production vehicles went largely unanswered in the past. Back in 2022, we released a V2X policy agenda. What did we say? We outlined 10 specific policies that were needed by the auto industry to facilitate the deployment of V2X. Key among those recommendations was for the Department of Transportation to develop a comprehensive national V2X vision and strategy. And here we are. And so today is, as Laura said, a day to celebrate. Yet there's more work to be done. The Federal Communications Commission, as you heard, will need to finalize technical rules for V2X. We're hopeful that these rules will be released in the coming weeks. We do need to find opportunities for NHTSA as the primary vehicle safety regulator to be involved in V2X deployment and these conversations as well. Regulatory certainty is important, so is regulatory alignment. But I know we all agree this deployment plan is a big deal. It is a crucial piece of this V2X puzzle. And I'm more optimistic than I've been in a long time about our collective ability to realize this life-saving potential of V2X technology in the U.S. So I'll end where I started. Thank you. Thank you to the Department of Transportation for this important plan and for your leadership. It matters. And thank you to all of you who have stayed with us on this V2X journey. We can do this. We can work as partners, government and industry, and we can use cutting-edge technology to save lives. Saving lives, that's our goal. I know it's the goal of everyone in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for ending on an optimistic note, and I would share that optimism. I think that it's been a lot of years, it's been a lot of effort, but in the pursuit of saving lives, there's just no shortage of effort that is needed, and we're going to continue to push that forward. I want to turn it over to Angela Gates, who's going to now moderate Q&A, and then we'll move to a panel session.
Yes, we're going to take a few minutes to take questions from press who are in the room, and then we'll also be taking questions from those who are joining us virtually. So I think we'll start with Sam from Politico, if you'd like to ask your question.
Hi, thanks everyone. I'm not sure who this is best directed to. Do any of y'all have estimates on how many vehicles currently in operation in the U.S. have V2X technology installed?
I don't have a firm estimate. I do know that companies have deployed technology, V2X technology, in vehicles on roadways. I will say, as I mentioned in my remarks, that the regulatory uncertainty, certainly with regard to the change in the Federal Communication Commission's rules with regard to the bandwidth available, has changed some of those deployments and some of those deployment plans, and that's what's so important about today, is that we have more clarity. We have alignment between infrastructure, vehicles, cyber, privacy, all of the elements that I think we need now to see deployments move forward. But there have been deployments, there are vehicles on the road that have that technology today, but frankly, until today, probably not a clear enough signal for a significant deployment that's required.
And just to follow up on that, what's the appetite you've heard from automakers on more widely deploying this? What have you heard?
Well, this is an important step. Here's what I hear. This is the reset button. This is the opportunity to bring that conversation back together. And again, what I think you'll hear from automakers is an appreciation for the leadership and the work that the Department of Transportation has taken to create a comprehensive plan to accelerate deployment.
And the other thing I would say too, right, this has been this chicken or egg argument for a long time, going back over a decade now. And on the public side, where I've spent a lot of my career, there have been a lot of deployments. And I think that this is the clear signal, as John was saying. But it's not also just about vehicles. There's also vulnerable road users out there now. When this started, it was about V2I, vehicle to infrastructure, then it was V2V, and now it's V2X. So it's not just about vehicles, but it's also about all of the users on the transportation system. Transit vehicles in Utah are using V2X technology to get their on-time percentages up. So there are a lot of deployments out there, but we need a lot more deployments, and that's what that timeline is about, getting more vehicles and more infrastructure out there.
All right, next question is from Joel Rose with NPR.
Thank you for taking some questions. I have two utterly unrelated questions. The first is that there have been some cybersecurity concerns around this technology in the past. Is there anything in this plan that that addresses those that you'd want to share? And the second question is, how are vulnerable? Can you walk me through how vulnerable road users could benefit from this? Like, for example, the cyclists who've been mentioned here today. Can you explain how this technology could help them?
Thank you for that question. Yes, the plan addresses cybersecurity, and so it lays out steps and how we get to standards and conventions around cybersecurity. That's a critically important piece of the plan and activities.
And then on the vulnerable road user piece, again, where we started with this was, could we get vehicles to get information from signals around the countdown of the signal and when it was going to turn red? Then it turned into vehicles talking to other vehicles. Were you going to merge into somebody's blind spot? Would it shake your steering wheel? And I'll just talk about Magnus White for a second, right? Biking on 119 on the shoulder of that highway and was struck by a vehicle that came across pretty directly and hit him at 60 miles an hour. There is technology available today. There's technology that you could deploy on that vehicle that could detect him. There's a Colorado startup called Spoke Safety that is putting V2X technology on bikes. And I know Audi has a deployment where they are able to detect those signals. So again, that's the future that we're looking towards, where all of the users on the system, pedestrians, vulnerable road users, and others are able to broadcast their signal in a cyber-secure way so that we're not getting any identity issues or other vectors for bad actors. But rather than relying on drivers who have just shown themselves to be distracted, drunk, drowsy, drugged, dumb is the other one I throw in there as another D there, we're going to rely on the technology for it to broadcast the presence of these vulnerable road users. So it's not just on drivers who are, quite frankly, being distracted by this environment that we find ourselves in.
All right, at this point, we're going to take questions from reporters who are joining us online. So if they haven't already, if they can raise their hand so we know they would like to ask a question, and Callie is going to help manage that.
All right, the first question we have is from Grant Schwab with Detroit News. Grant, you're unmuted if you'd like to ask your question.
Great. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you all for putting this on. Administrator Bott mentioned funding challenges to really deploy V2X at scale. I was wondering if he or anybody else could speak more to this and could give a sense for the scale of new investment needed from private partners and then also from government at the federal, state, local levels.
Yeah, thank you. So in order to equip the infrastructure that is out there, it is going to require tens of millions of dollars of investment. But I would also say that we spend tens of billions of dollars every year on our transportation system. And so the great thing about the bipartisan infrastructure law is that it has provided a generational investment in transportation. And one of the great things about the technology, as it has proven itself to be, to show that it can provide results, it is now eligible for federal funding so that state DOTs can use this as one of their safety tools. There are also discretionary grants. There's our ATAID grants that are out there. There are Saving Lives through accelerating V2X connectivity. That's the $60 million that we just put out there. And there are legacy investments that are out there. There's investments in Tampa, in Hillsborough County around this. There's investments in Wyoming from some of the truck pilots that have been out there. And so with the certainty now around the technology, we're just going to be able to show a better benefit cost analysis as we get more and more deployments out there.
All right, the next question comes from Tom Ichniowski with Engineering News Record.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I wonder if Administrator Bott could talk a little bit more about the roadside infrastructure needs that would be part of the V2X plan that you have undertaken, and how much money is going to be involved?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Again, what we're talking about here, right? And this technology has evolved. I mean, there's roadside units that are out there today. And again, this technology, if there's one thing we've learned, is this technology evolves as we go on. So the roadside unit of today could be replaced by a cellular 5G signal in the future, where the latency has gotten so much better. Edge computing is making this, again, changing the way that this data is being transferred back and forth. And so, again, it is going to take a significant investment by the public sector. But again, I have run 2 state DOTs. I've served as the Federal Highway Administrator. I've also worked on the private sector side. And I would say, we always say that safety is our #1 priority. I always say that DOTs exist for 2 reasons: to save lives and make people's lives better. And I am unaware of a more significant technology deployment that we can do other than V2X right now that can help save lives and make people's lives better. So to me, it's about making smart investments with our billions of dollars that we're spending. And I think V2X technology is a great investment for the American people.
All right, the last question.
Actually, I want to also add to that, a key part of the plan too is the interoperable connectivity. So this plan really embraces many forms of V2X. That includes over the network and cellular connections. So those roadside units also may be part of a cellular network or other forms. And so it really embraces this whole community, and that will help get the scale much faster. So thank you.
All right, the next question comes from Paul Kirby with TR Daily.
Thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Several people mentioned the FCC rules. The FCC, as I'm sure you all know, the chairwoman has circulated an item to set those final rules. From what any of you may or know about what might be in the item, do you think it does what you need, what you expect based on what the FCC said they were going to do, not necessarily what you originally wanted to move forward?
Yes, thank you for that question. Over the last 3 years or so, at least, we've had a great collaboration and engagement with the FCC. Many people in this room, be it getting waivers, be it working on performance characteristics. And so we've worked quite closely. I think what's circulating at the FCC is something that hopefully is passed soon. And that's my understanding that it will be. And so we can get started. So it's been a good partnership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are all the questions.
Okay, so I think that is going to conclude the first portion of our program. I would just say that nothing in this world that is worth doing is easy, but we don't come to do easy things, we come to do hard things. And these are the things that we should fight for. And look, in DC, lots of people come here to lobby for different things or to push for things. It is hard to push things for people whose lives you're going to save because they don't know you're going to save their lives. But I want to thank everybody here for all of your passion and your hard work. Together, we are going to be able to save lives with this plan. So thank you very much. I turn to our Deputy Administrator, Kristen White, who's going to introduce our second panel. Thank you so much.